All right, so let's just jump right in. Picture this. The air in the throne room is just crackling with tension. Evan has just thrown this massive accusation at Pop, the guy who's supposed to be the holiest man alive, calling him a puppet for pure evil. The silence is deafening. You'd expect Pop to explode, right? But no. Instead, he just smiles and offers a test. And trust me, that's way more terrifying.
And just like that, the entire game changes. Popa doesn't even try to deny it. He just goes, "You think so? Prove it." This isn't him defending himself. Oh no, this is him laying a trap disguised as some kind of quest for the truth. He's completely flipping the script and taking control in the creepiest way imaginable.
So what exactly is this test? Well, it's basically a masterclass in manipulation. Pope has set up this impossible situation, a total catch-22, where literally anything Evan does is just going to prove Pope's point. This whole thing isn't about finding the truth, it's all about flexing his power. And then, out of nowhere, things get really serious. A blade, a long, thin blade, just emerges from the arm of the throne itself, like the stone is alive and obeying him. The second that blade appears, catching the light, everything escalates. We're not just talking about words anymore. This is now life and death.
And this is where you see just how brilliant the trap is. Pulp is basically saying, "Go on, warrior, if I'm so evil, your conscience should be telling you to kill me." But then he adds that little twist, and let us see who reacts. See what he's doing? He's implying that if Evan attacks, some dark force, the Tempter, will stop him, proving he's just a puppet. But if Evan does nothing, well then he's just a coward who won't stand by his beliefs. It's a perfect, inescapable trap.
Okay, but it gets even weirder. As Evan actually starts to move forward, the whole reality of the throne room starts to unravel. You get this feeling that this isn't just a test between two men and a woman. There are other things here, other forces lurking just out of sight.
So as they get closer to the throne, the air itself seems to turn on them. They start hearing these whispers, disembodied voices, and they're not just random noises, they're commands. Words like unworthy, obey, kneel. Each one is like a little psychic dagger designed to break their will and force them into submission. It's like the room itself is trying to crush them.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, Abby sees it. The veil is just ripped away. She sees what's really under the throne. It's him, Serpent, coiled up like a living, breathing foundation holding the whole thing up. This isn't a metaphor. She is looking at a literal demon at the heart of this so-called holy place. It's their worst nightmare come to life.
Now here's where it gets really mind-bending. You'd think Popa would be shocked, right? Caught out? But no. He doesn't even deny it. He sees that Abby sees the demon, and instead of panicking, he just explains it. He starts justifying why having this creature of absolute evil here is not only necessary, but part of his plan.
This right here, this is the heart of the whole conflict. Abby looks and sees Serpent, a demon, pure evil. Pope looks at the exact same thing and sees order, a leash on chaos, a measure of souls. He's literally arguing that this demon isn't a bug, it's a feature, a necessary tool to control humanity.
So let's break that down, because it's wild. Pope's entire philosophy is that evil isn't something you fight, it's something you use. He's saying that even the Creator uses the Tempter's hunger to test people, that this whole terrifying setup is part of a divine plan. He's not just saying his power is justified, he's saying it's holy. So think about where Evan is right now. He's facing an impossible choice, a terrifying reality, and a man with the most twisted logic you can imagine. He's got whispers screaming at him, a blade waiting for him. Everything, the entire conflict, comes down to this one single moment. What he does next changes everything. And right in the middle of all that chaos, Abby asks the one question that matters, the one question that cuts through all of Poop's games and all the noise. She doesn't ask what's the smart move or how do we win. She just asks him what his conscience is saying. She brings it back to the one thing Poop completely ignores, Evan's own inner voice. And you know what? He listens. He actually tunes out all those screaming whispers telling him to obey and deal. And underneath it all, he finds it. It's not some booming voice. It's described as tiny but stubborn. It's that quiet, steady part of himself that knows what's right and it refuses to be silenced.
And that is the answer. That's the way out. Evan finds the third option that Pope never thought existed. He just refuses to play the game. By saying, "I'm not your executioner and I'm not your puppet," he rejects both sides of the trap. He's not taking the bait. He's taking back his own power and just stepping off the game board entirely.
And how does Poupe react?
He just scoffs. He calls it cowardice dressed as virtue. He can't even process Evan's choice as a real move, so he has to frame it as a weakness. For a guy like Poupée, if you're not playing his violent game of power, you're just a coward. It really shows you he has zero concept of a strength that isn't about domination and control.
So, the stare down is over. Evan won the moral high ground, for sure, but the fight is far from over. Now they have to get out of there alive. This next part is all about the escape, and the slow dawning horror that this throne room? Yeah, that was just the opening act.
And this is Pope's final checkmate move. The huge doors to the throne room slam open, and standing there are rows and rows of robed figures, not guards. He calls them witnesses. See, he couldn't make Evan do what he wanted, but he can absolutely control the story. He's making sure that his version of what just happened is the only one anyone will ever hear.
So what do? They don't try to fight through this silent army. Instead, they spot a small hidden side door. And they take it. This is so key. They literally turn their backs on Pope's big, dramatic stage and choose a dark, unknown stairwell leading down. They're choosing total uncertainty over a tyranny they can see, which is really what their whole journey is about, right?
And just as you think, okay, maybe they made it, a voice comes out of the darkness at the bottom of the stairs. And it's not Pope. It's someone new. Someone who says, well, it took you long enough to get here, as if they've been waiting for them the whole time. It just leaves you with this chilling question, did they actually escape? Or did they just walk straight into the next level of the war?